Today, perhaps more than ever, people are searching for a reason, an answer to the suffering and pain that resides in their minds. The feeling of being trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, never escaping the self-image they have built over the years. Could it be that true freedom is simply the act of consciously letting go of the barriers we've unknowingly erected? These barriers are not some distant, unattainable concepts. They are the thoughts, judgments, and beliefs we have internalized over time. And they are invisible, yet powerful. They guide the course of our lives in ways we don't even realize. Krishnamurti once said, "Only when you are aware of yourself can you change." And therein lies the crux of it. Awareness, or the awakening to the very barriers of thought you have built throughout your life, is the key to liberation. But how do you become aware of these barriers? How can you see what lies hidden within your mind without judgment, without fear? Only when you are aware of them, can you begin to change. Only when you dare to face yourself, can those barriers dissolve. To become aware of the barriers in your mind, you must first understand that it is not external forces at play, but the thoughts you have unconsciously adopted that dictate your life. You may not realize it, but you are living with an ego that you have built throughout your life. These judgments about yourself, the standards you impose on yourself, they are not the truth. They are merely products of the mind, created by society, family, and even yourself. You have become so familiar with the image of yourself that you have created, that it becomes nearly impossible to see who you really are. Only when you become truly aware of these thoughts can you begin the process of change. Change is not something external. It is not about changing your job, moving to a new place, or altering your relationships. True change comes from within, from recognizing the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you carry with you. You cannot change if you are not aware of the barriers of thought you have created. Think about this for a moment. How many times a day do you ask yourself, "Who am I?" or "Am I enough?" The image of yourself that you hold in your mind, whether positive or negative, is not who you truly are. It is merely a reflection of external influences, from how others perceive you, from societal expectations, and from the judgments you impose on yourself. Krishnamurti emphasized, the ego is a psychological structure created by thought. The ego is not the truth, it is simply a reflection of the thoughts you are not aware of. And it is the ego that creates these barriers to thinking. It creates expectations, limits, and judgments that you place upon yourself and others. When you cling to this ego, you are unknowingly building a wall that separates you from true freedom. The next step in the journey of awareness is letting go of the ego. But letting go does not mean abandoning yourself. It is not a denial of who you are, but a realization that you are not the thoughts, judgments, or images you have created. You are the observer, the witness to everything. When you let go of these self-images, you will find that freedom comes naturally. It is not freedom from the outside world, but freedom from the confines of your own mind. You are no longer limited by beliefs or self-images. At first you may feel confused. You might wonder, if I am not my ego, then who am I? As you move deeper into the process of awareness, you will begin to notice that it is not just the obvious thoughts that shape your reality, but the subtle patterns of belief that lie beneath the surface of your consciousness. These patterns, often rooted in your past experiences, have created the framework through which you view the world. They have formed the lens through which you perceive yourself, your relationships, and your life. These hidden beliefs are the very foundation of your ego, and to truly experience freedom, you must uncover them and bring them into the light of awareness. Krishnamurti often spoke of the importance of self-observation, an observation that is free from judgment, a pure awareness that simply watches without interference. When you begin to observe your thoughts, you will notice how much of your life is governed by these ingrained beliefs. For instance, you may find that you react to certain situations with anger, fear, or defensiveness. These reactions are not arbitrary, they are rooted in past experiences and the beliefs you have formed about yourself and the world. Perhaps you were taught to feel inadequate or unworthy, and now those beliefs color every interaction you have. What if, instead of reacting with the same automatic responses, you allowed yourself to pause and observe? To step back and witness the thoughts and emotions as they arise, without immediately identifying with them? This is the key to unlocking true freedom. The act of observing yourself without judgment allows you to break free from the tyranny of your conditioned mind. You begin to see that these reactions are not who you are, they are simply habits of thought and feeling that you have learned over time. To witness your thoughts without identification is to experience true freedom. You are no longer at the mercy of your conditioned patterns, but instead, you are the observer, free from attachment. In this space of pure awareness, the grip of the ego begins to loosen. The need to defend yourself, to be right, to prove your worth, these all fade away. You no longer feel the need to live up to an image or expectation. You simply exist as you are, in the present moment, with clarity and peace. This shift in awareness is not something that happens overnight. It is a gradual process, one that requires patience and a willingness to confront the darker aspects of your psyche. It requires the courage to face the parts of yourself that you have hidden from view, the parts that are often uncomfortable to acknowledge. But it is only through this honest confrontation with yourself that true transformation can occur. Krishnamurti's teachings emphasize the need for radical change, not just in your actions, but in your very understanding of yourself. This change is not about acquiring new knowledge or adopting new beliefs. It is about letting go of everything you think you know about yourself. It is about the complete dissolution of the ego and the illusion of separation that it creates. Only when the ego dissolves can you experience the unity and interconnectedness of all life. When you allow yourself to be fully present, without the interference of the past or the future, you will experience a profound sense of peace. This peace is not something that can be sought or attained through effort. It is a natural state that arises when you cease to cling to the false sense of self. The moment you stop trying to become something or someone else, the peace of simply being is revealed. This peace is the essence of true freedom. It is a freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances, but on your ability to be fully aware in each moment. It is a freedom that arises from the realization that you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your past or future, but simply the awareness that observes it all. However, the journey towards this freedom requires a deep level of commitment. It is not easy to let go of the ego, especially when it has shaped your entire life. The ego has provided a sense of security, a way to navigate the world, and to define your place within it. But this sense of security is illusory. It is built upon false beliefs and assumptions that keep you trapped in a cycle of suffering. The key to breaking free is not to struggle against the ego, but to observe it with a sense of compassion. Understand that the ego is not the enemy, it is simply a byproduct of your conditioning. It has served a purpose in your life, but now it is time to let go. Through the process of observation, you begin to see that the ego is not your true self. It is merely a collection of thoughts and beliefs that you have identified with over time. As you continue this process of self-observation, you will begin to notice a shift in your relationships with others. When you are no longer attached to your own ego, you are able to relate to others in a more genuine and compassionate way. You are no longer caught in the need for validation or approval. You no longer seek to control or manipulate those around you. Instead, you can simply be with them without judgment, without expectation. This shift is profound. It transforms the way you engage with the world. No longer are you trying to fit into a mold or to meet the expectations of others. You are free to express yourself authentically. As the journey of awareness deepens, the layers of the ego begin to dissolve, and what remains is an overwhelming sense of stillness, a quietude that is often misunderstood in the hustle and bustle of modern life. Many seek stillness as a refuge and escape from the noise of their own minds, but Krishnamurti suggests that stillness is not an absence of thought, but rather the natural state of the mind when it is free from the disturbances of the self. Stillness is not something to be sought after. It is something that arises naturally when you cease to be identified with the movements of thought. In this stillness there is a profound clarity. It is a clarity that comes from deep observation, not from analysis or judgment. The mind is no longer clouded by the constant chatter of desires, fears, and judgments. It is free, present, and fully engaged in the now. This is the state of mind that allows you to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be, not as they have been conditioned to appear, but as they truly are. This state of awareness, this clarity, is what allows you to see beyond the limited perception of the ego. It enables you to perceive the world without the filter of your personal biases and conditioning. It is in this space of pure observation that you begin to understand the nature of your own suffering and, more importantly, the way out of it. Krishnamurti often spoke of the need to approach life with an open mind, one that is not limited by preconceived ideas or judgments. He argued that it is only when the mind is open, when it is not bound by the confines of its own beliefs, that it can truly perceive the world as it is. This openness is not a passive state. It is an active state of receptivity, of being fully present without the interference of thought. It is important to understand that this process of awakening is not a one-time event, but a continual unfolding. It is not something that you can achieve and then move on from. It is something that must be nurtured every moment of every day. This is where the challenge lies, to remain present, to maintain awareness, in the midst of life's chaos and distractions. It is easy to slip back into old habits of thought, to fall into the trap of identification with the ego. But it is precisely in those moments of slipping that the opportunity for true awareness arises. The challenge is to not judge yourself when you fall back into old patterns, but to simply observe without attachment. Krishnamurti warned that judgment, even of oneself, is a form of self-ignorance. Judgment arises from the same ego that we are trying to break free from. It is the ego's way of maintaining control, of keeping you trapped in the cycle of identification. Therefore, instead of judging yourself for your thoughts or actions, simply observe them. Witness them as they come and go without getting entangled in them. This ability to observe without judgment is at the heart of true freedom. It is not about eliminating thoughts or emotions, but about relating to them in a new way. You are no longer at the mercy of your thoughts. Instead, you are the observer, the witness, the one who is aware of them. This shift in perspective allows you to live with greater ease and less inner conflict. You no longer have to struggle against your thoughts. You simply watch them pass by like clouds in the sky. This process of observation and non-identification is the key to breaking the cycle of suffering. As you continue to observe your thoughts and emotions without attachment, you will begin to notice a subtle but profound shift in your experience of the world. You will no longer be so reactive, so easily triggered by external events. Instead, you will respond to life with greater clarity, with greater understanding, and with greater compassion. Krishnamurti taught that true freedom is not found in the external world, but within the mind. It is not about changing the circumstances of your life, but about changing the way you relate to those circumstances. When you change your relationship with yourself, when you let go of the ego and its attachments, you begin to experience a freedom that is independent of the world around you. This is the freedom that allows you to live fully, to love deeply, and to experience life with an open heart. As you continue on this path of awareness, you will begin to notice that your relationships with others also transform. When you are free from the constraints of your ego, you are able to see others more clearly, without the distortion of your judgments and expectations. You no longer view others through the lens of your own desires, fears, and insecurities. Instead, you see them as they truly are, complex, flawed, and beautiful in their own right. This clarity and compassion extend not only to others but also to yourself. When you are no longer attached to your own ego, you are able to embrace your own humanity. You no longer need to be perfect. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You are simply you, fully present, fully alive, and fully connected to the world around you. The freedom that Krishnamurti spoke of is a freedom that arises from within. It is not the freedom of external circumstances or material wealth. It is the freedom of the mind. It is the freedom to live without the constant weight of the ego, without the need to define yourself by your thoughts, your possessions, or your achievements. It is the freedom to simply be in each moment with full awareness and acceptance. This is the ultimate liberation, the freedom to be yourself without fear, without judgment, and without attachment. When you reach this point of true freedom, you will experience a deep sense of peace, a peace that is not dependent on anything outside of yourself. It is a peace that comes from within, from the realization that you are enough, just as you are. Krishnamurti's teachings remind us that the journey of awakening is not a destination, but a continuous process of deepening awareness. It is a journey that requires patience, courage, and a willingness to face the truth of who we are. But it is also a journey that leads to the greatest freedom we can experience, the freedom to live fully, authentically, and in harmony with the world around us. As you continue on this path, remember that the key to true freedom is awareness. It is not something you can achieve through effort or striving. It is something that arises naturally when you are no longer attached to the ego. When you release your grip on the false self, you will discover a deeper truth, a truth that is always available to you in every moment, waiting to be realized. Awareness is the key to freedom, and freedom is the key to life.